You ever watch people preach morality while hiding filth under their halos? My ex-husband's parents thought they could weaponize religion, pity, and lies against my daughters and me. But when they tried dragging my children through the mud, I made sure their entire church saw exactly who they really were. This is how I turned their fake piety into poetic justice. If you've ever been lied about, ganged up on, or blamed for something you didn't do, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear this week. Because sometimes, karma just needs a little help printing receipts. When my ex-husband died in an accident last year, people assumed I was heartbroken. And I was, but not for the reasons they thought. You see, my marriage had already been gutted from the inside long before that crash. My ex had been cheating on me, for years. And when he died, he didn't just leave behind his lies. He left behind 2 children from his affair. 2 little boys, both now orphans. And while I felt pity for them, I couldn't ignore what this did to my own daughters, 17 and 15. They were the ones who found out about his cheating. They were the ones who saw the texts, the pictures, the betrayal that ripped our family apart. So when people, including his parents, started pushing the narrative that we should now be a good family to those boys, I knew the storm was coming. My ex-in-laws, let's call them Harold and Martha, were in their late 70s and early 80s. They had that old-school church mentality. Respect your elders, obey your husband, forgive the sinner, except that forgiveness somehow only ever applied to their son. When he cheated, it wasn't adultery. It was a moment of weakness. When I filed for divorce, it wasn't self-respect. It was rebellion. After his death, they went on a crusade to reunite the family. That meant 2 things: trying to get custody of my daughters. Yes, custody. Trying to move in with us. The first was being fought in court. The second, over my dead body. Part 3. The Market Incident. Fast forward to last month. It was my youngest daughter's birthday weekend. We went to the local farmer's market, one of those lovely weekend ones with fresh bread, flowers, and homemade jam. I gave her a little budget and told her she could buy whatever she wanted. Chocolate, sweets, pastries, just a carefree day. An hour passed, then another. I started to worry. Just before I could call her, my phone rang. It was her, sobbing. "Mom, some weird people. They won't let me leave." My heart dropped. I grabbed my older daughter and we ran. When we got there, 6 older women had cornered my 15-year-old right there between the honey stand and the vegetable stall. They were wagging fingers, voices sharp with false holiness. "You're being unchristian. You're supposed to forgive your grandparents. How could you reject your poor baby brothers?" They were shaming my child, publicly, for not wanting to be a good sister to the affair children her father left behind. My daughter, my sweet, traumatized girl, was shaking and crying. That was it. The switch flipped. I stepped between them, told my oldest to take her sister's things and go to the car. Then I turned to the women, some of whom I recognized from my ex-in-law's church, and I let them have it. "You don't know the first thing about Christianity," I told them. "You're just using God's name to excuse cruelty." They sneered. One even said, "You should have obeyed your husband and his parents like a proper wife." That word, obey, it made me sick. I don't even remember what I said after that. Just that security eventually told us all to leave, and those 6 harpies followed me to the car, still yelling, still self-righteous. My daughters sat in the back seat, silent and trembling. And as I drove home, I realized something. This wasn't going to stop. Not until I stopped it myself. That night I got a message from an old acquaintance from the same church. He apologized for what happened, and then told me why it happened. Apparently, my ex-mother-in-law, Martha, had posted a long, emotional story in their church Facebook group. It painted her and her husband as saints, poor, heartbroken grandparents abandoned by their evil daughter-in-law. She claimed my daughters and I had left them homeless and penniless. even though they had inherited my ex's bank account and his life insurance. She also said we refused to take in the orphaned baby boys, and worst of all, she blamed us for losing custody of them. The cherry on top? She told everyone that the other woman was actually a surrogate I had hired because I couldn't have more children. That's how she explained the boy's existence without admitting her son had been unfaithful. And apparently, it worked. People pitied her. They called us cold, godless, and unchristian. They started attacking my daughters online. That's when something in me went still. Cold. Precise. I'd spent months staying quiet. But that night, I planned revenge. The next morning, I took a personal day off work. I went through every email, every text, every screenshot I'd kept from the divorce. My ex's messages to his mistress. Photos of them, in my home, on my couch. His parents' texts supporting his affair. And even worse, messages from them harassing my daughters. One called my girls bastards. Another said they were the reason their father died. Those messages were dated 2 days after his funeral. I gathered them all. Then I went to a print shop. I paid extra for thick, glossy, high-quality paper. Because if I was going to do this, it had to be beautiful. When I got home, I spent hours crafting binders. Small, neat, church songbook-style binders. Each one labeled with a simple, elegant title on the front. A love story, ex-husband's name, and mistress name. The first page, a full-color photo of them making out in my living room. Underneath, true love knows no boundaries, not even marriage vows. Then, page after page, the truth. Screenshots, emails, harassment messages, even the one where his parents admitted to covering for him. When I was done, I had 15 binders, 15 perfect little bombs of truth. Sunday morning, I dressed modestly, neutral colors, a polite smile, and I walked into that church like nothing had ever happened. At the back of the sanctuary was a table, the one with the hymn books. I quietly replaced about 15 of them with my special editions. Then I left. No drama, no announcement, just silence. It started the next day. The gossip mill roared to life. Apparently someone had opened one of the binders during pre-service prayer. Then another, then another. Within hours, the entire congregation knew the truth. That faithful son they'd all pitied, he was a serial cheater. That poor elderly couple, they had covered for him and bullied his widow and children. Facebook exploded. The names my ex and his mistress got called were so harsh that the pastor himself had to step in to moderate the comments. And my ex-in-laws? They were publicly shamed. People they'd known for 40 years stopped speaking to them. Their friends vanished. Their reputation, the thing they prized most, was gone. Martha even posted on her wall later, "No one cares for the elderly anymore. My son was the only one who loved us." The irony. That great son she missed so dearly had been living off my salary for years. Within a week, I got 2 letters in the mail, both from church members. They apologized to my daughters. They said they had been misled, and they even invited us to come back for support. Oh, the delicious irony. Apparently the church had one saving grace. They were fanatically against adultery. They could overlook almost anything else, but not cheating. And once they realized who the real sinner was, they turned. My daughters? They smiled for the first time in months. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave them closure, knowing the truth was finally out there. As for me, I slept peacefully for the first time in a long time. Sometimes revenge isn't about rage. It's about reclaiming your story. They tried to rewrite ours, turn us into villains in their fairy tale of faith and forgiveness. But the truth has a funny way of shining through, especially when you print it in full color. So, what do you think? Was I wrong to expose them this way? Or was this the justice they earned? If you enjoyed that story, hit like, drop a comment about the best revenge you've ever seen, and subscribe for more stories where karma gets creative. Because sometimes the best sermons come from sinners who finally had enough.